Okay, welcome to Radical. Sorry. Okay, welcome to a Radical Decidership. Okay, this channel should be changing your perspective, should be radically shifting the way you view the world. Okay, so this video is going to. Let me just check. I'm an amateur. Okay, guys, I'm getting better and better at this, so bear with me. This video is going to piggyback on the last one because I realized I was like saying, oh, circumstances are neutral, which they are, and I was explaining why they're neutral. If you didn't see it, you can watch my previous video. It's the same outfit, but so I went into why they're neutral, why they're like just showing you, you know, you don't have to be scared of them, you don't have to think they're bad or good, you can just be like, oh yeah, they're right here, thank you for showing me what's in my mind. But the other thing that I was going to say was that along with knowing that, okay, yep, doing good over here, along with knowing that they are neutral and that they're like just showing you what's in your mind and you can be like literally grateful for them, the other thing you want to keep in mind is that you got to feel your stuff. Like if something comes up, like the way to, when you're changing your limiting beliefs, because there are, like, we all grew up with limiting beliefs. It's just the name of the game, you know. It's just what happens. Like I wanted to be just like my mom, and she's not perfect. She's got a lot of stuff from her mom. Like, you know, I just remember like when I first started realizing, I think I was in counseling and I was like maybe 14 or 15. I went to counseling my whole life. I definitely recommend like straightforward regular counseling to people too, like not just this like fringe kind of like creating your life type stuff, you know. Like I do think talking about stuff in regular counseling did actually help me quite a bit because I had a lot of stuff going on and I knew as a kid that I needed to talk about this stuff. So point being is I did get a lot from like normal counseling, you know, not just this like fringe kind of like, oh yeah, creating your reality and like lining up with your preferred reality stuff. This is like advanced. Of course, you probably know because you're here, right? So, anyway, the point is like you have these limiting beliefs. They come to you your whole life. Like you're always absorbing what's around you. Like my mom, my dad, my friends, everybody. You know, like you have an image of yourself based on what's around you too, right? And if we're doing this whole thing of like changing, becoming who you want to become and all that stuff, it's like your image of yourself matters a lot, right? Like that's what self-concept is. Like I don't want to make this video too long, I'm getting distracted, but this is important. Like if you've been here long enough, you know that self-concept is talked about a lot in this community, so it's important to like address it. So anyway, your limiting beliefs affect your self-concept, obviously, right? Like that is what makes your self-concept. Self-concept is made up of beliefs, good ones and limiting ones, right? So that's what makes up your concept of yourself, your self-worth, your self-esteem. All of that is like self-concept, right? So so in the process of knowing and like assuring yourself that circumstances do not matter and why they don't matter, which is because, like I explained in the last video, they are literally showing you what's in your mind, right? They're like literally like an out picturing of like, oh, these are my beliefs. This is what I've been thinking all my life. These are the thoughts that I keep repeating. Oh yeah, I see it here. And like I was teaching you in the last video to be grateful for them, right? Because it's like, oh, I see this right here. Oh, it's so cool. Like you can literally change your mind about that and be like, I am grateful. I'm thankful for this. Along with doing that, this video, I want to make a special point of saying, you got to feel your shit. You got to feel it. Like the way to move through it, the thing is as a kid too, like I was told not to feel my anger, and like a lot of kids were told that, like, oh, you know, shush when we're crying, and like, you know, like, oh, you can just get up and like rub your knees off, like you're fine, just chuck up, little munchkin, like just get up there and do it, or whatever. Like we don't see the value in like processing emotions. Like there are some parents that do allow processing of emotions and do value it. My family, not like, obviously God bless them, like they did the best they could. They weren't into like showing feelings or like processing feelings and knowing what you're feeling and describing it and explaining it and being aware of it. You know, we were kind of like just not, my parents weren't counselors. Like they didn't like know how to help me process that stuff. But I'm saying here, you got to process it. You got to just move through it. And that's actually the way that you can decide. So this channel is called A Radical Decidership for a reason. Like it took me quite a while to like land on that name, because I thought like it's such an important name, because it's like all that we're here doing. Like you need to be radical and you need to decide. Two things. Radical decidership. Just radically decide no matter what. And the radical part comes from like, no matter what's out there, no matter what you're seeing, you're not going to feel bad about it. You're not going to, you will sometimes, and that's fine. Like what I'm talking about now is processing that emotion. So if you do feel bad about it, process that emotion. Like feel your feelings. Feel your feelings. Don't get stuck in them, right? Don't get stuck. Don't stick there like Joe Dispenza. I read a lot, but I've read all Joe Dispenza's books, and he always talks about this. Like, sure, like feel the feelings. He always just says like feel them less and less time, right? But I do think that feeling them is important, right? Like, and he's like, oh, don't get stuck in a feeling, because then it becomes a mood, right? A mood's like for longer. And then he talks about like feelings becoming like your actual makeup, right? Eventually, like you just get stuck there, which is not what we're doing here. We're literally like, the reason you have feelings is to feel them and move through them so that you can decide something else. Does that make sense? That's why my channel is called the name is called, like decide. But oftentimes you can't decide until you feel your feelings. And that's the point. That's literally the point of this video, but I made a separate video for it because it's so important. And we're taught not to feel our feelings, which is the wrong thing, right? Not everyone knows it's wrong. There's some kids were very like fortunate to know that, but a lot of kids, like me included, the only time I started to feel things is when I went to counseling, which was very important for me. And somehow as a kid, I knew that I needed counseling. I mean, I literally asked my parents at age 8. I was literally 8 years old, and I was like, okay, I need to talk to someone. Like, my friends don't understand, like, and neither do you guys. Like, my parents, I couldn't talk to my parents about all the feelings. And I'm a very not emotional, but like I feel a lot of stuff. I feel other people's feelings. They call it empath. I've been always like that. I'm very like tuned in to my surroundings, very observant ever since I was like very young. I think it was a survival thing because we moved a lot when I was younger, so I was like always taking in everything. So yeah, not everyone knows to like help your kids move through feelings, but I'm telling you, it's the number one thing. When you're entering this way of being, this deciding what's going to be yours, what's your reality going to be like, you need to feel your feelings, because it's almost like you're shedding skin, right? Like if you feel the feeling, you're going to shed it quicker. Like you just allow yourself, like, okay, that feels a certain way. You're not attached to it. You're not thinking like that's you, right? It's not you. It's just something passing through. Like it's an experience, right? We're here to feel our feelings. Like, that's part of being human on the earth right now. So feel your feelings, get through it, and then decide, right? That's the point of my channel. Like, but I didn't want to just be like, oh, everything's neutral, just decide. No, like that's not like valuing why we're here. It's not giving yourself like time to process stuff. Like when you're sad, when you're like grieving, when you're like, you're going through something really tough, you got to feel what you're going through. And then, when you're ready, decide, and it doesn't matter how long it takes. It's good to limit the time. Like if you're just crying over a text message or something like that, or, then just limit the time you're doing it, but definitely feel what you're feeling and then move on. Decide. I had to make a whole video just about that because I literally didn't want to leave out the fact that you do need to feel your feelings. And it actually helps you decide, because you get to feel like, okay, this is like the old me leaving, or, you get to decide whatever that means to you, right? You put a meaning there. If it's like, oh, this is like stuff that I'm ready to be through with. And if you decide that, then like you'll be more able to choose something better, right? So it's very important. Okay, so that's it. I think that was it. I think that was all I had to say. I'll probably make another video like expanding on it. If you have any questions, let me know, okay? Like, I haven't been saying subscribe or any of that, but like if this feels good to you and you like this stuff, then maybe like ring the bell or something, you know, whatever. So stick around if you want to. So what's my closing line? It's relax and rejoice, because it's already freaking done. You know what I'm saying? Okay.